All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. There's still 8 races to go in this year's edition of the IndyCar season, but right now, the only race is the one for second place. Alex Palou won today for the third time in as many races. And in the process, he was able to extend his lead in the points race as he is now 110 points ahead of second place Scott Dixon. 4 wins this season so far for Palou to go along with 9 top 10s and 8 top 5s will do it. Now, Palou began today's race at Mid Ohio in fourth, but things opened up for the Spaniard when Colton Herta, who was a pole sitter in today's race, was assessed with a drive-through penalty for his speed coming down pit row. And in doing so, and especially at the late stage of the race when it happened, it all but ended his chances of winning. We also saw Graham Rahal, who began this race today second, have two separate issues on pit row. Once, of course, we saw the engine stall, and that ended his day as well as far as winning. And when you have those issues like that, and you have a guy like Palou who has been in the zone that he has been in this season, he was able to take full advantage of that, and he easily held off his Chip Ganassi teammate Scott Dixon for the checkered flag this afternoon. Now it's only the beginning of July, and this IndyCar title race is all but over, as it's going to take a huge string of bad luck for Palou to not win his second IndyCar championship in the last 3 years. With today's win, Chip Ganassi Racing has now tied Team Penske for the most wins all time at Mid Ohio with 12. You think about the way that this race started, and it was a tough start for Marcus Ericsson and Felix Rosenquist. Of course, Ericsson hit Rosenquist in a turn on the first lap of the race. Both drivers were never the same. Both drivers stalled out after that. Rosenquist was able to finish the race. Ericsson was only able to complete 5 laps today, and it really hurt him because he came into the standings today in second place, and of course, he dropped to fourth. A strong showing from Pato Award, and Award began this race in 25th, and he charged hard throughout. And he was able to make a good showing for himself this afternoon as he started 25th, but was able to finish eighth. Unlike the other drivers, Award had a different strategy, and a lot of it was due to where he started. He pushed it. He had to make 3 pit stops as opposed to the other drivers who were only able to do it on 2. We saw good strategy today, good pit strategy from both Scott Dixon and Will Power. Both of them were two of the last 2 drivers to pit initially. A lot of guys were kind of in that 24 to 27 lap window, if you will, before they made their first pits. Dixon and Power each came in like anywhere between laps 30 to 33, and it made a difference with both of them on their strategy. And of course, Dixon finished second today behind his Chip Ganassi teammate in Palou, and then of course Will Power representing Team Penske finished third. Some key points today were decided by Benjamin Peterson, a driver who wasn't even close to winning the race. We saw at the late stages of this race where Peterson wasn't even on the lead lap, and there were some cars that were attempting to get around him, a la Alexander Rossi, and they were having issues. And I'll tell you like this, a lot of drivers were not thrilled with Peterson this afternoon because he was way out of the race. And of course, it's kind of like that gentleman's agreement out there. If you're not on the lead lap and it's late, kind of move to the side and let those lead cars ahead of you go out there and duke it out. And of course, there were some key points that were missed by several drivers who got caught up in lap traffic. So I guarantee you, Benjamin Peterson is not on the Christmas list or the top of the Christmas list, if you will. For a lot of the drivers currently on this circuit. For overall, though, it was a very clean race. I mean, you think about it, only one caution, and that came on the first lap with the collision between Ericsson and Rosenquist. And not having that caution really hurt Pato O'Ward's chances because a lot of his strategy went into cautions because he was going to be able to take advantage of those. He never had that opening today. And it was good driving. And I'll tell you like this, it's Mid Ohio is one of those tracks where it's very tough to get around guys as far as you got to have real good strategy as far as knowing when to make your moves as far as jumping a car or two in order to move up in the standings. And for when you think about how aggressive it can be uh throughout a race, it was a very clean race, and that's a credit to the drivers, these professionals that they are, going out there and taking care of their business. So it's 2 more weeks before IndyCar takes over the streets of Toronto. And first things first, I will say this. Um, Being that there was only one caution today, I got a feeling that we're going to see more cautions, not a ton of cautions, but more cautions. Um, in Toronto. It's just one of those things. It's one of those quirky things where it's very difficult to have a clean race like this, 2 races in a row. But of course, as IndyCar gets ready to take over the streets of Toronto, the real story right now is going to be how quickly will Alex Palou be able to clinch this title because nobody's catching it. I mean, at this point, it's going to take several DNFs, and it's going to have to take some of the drivers behind him to have to do something amazing. You think about it, the 2 through 5 right now are bunched up pretty tight in the standings. Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Marcus Ericsson, and of course Pato O'Ward. But I will say this: Scott Dixon, who is as close to him as anybody else, Dixon, who has not won a race so far this year, he's probably going to have to win 3, and you're also going to have to talk about a guy like Pelot, having a couple of DNFs. Anything can happen. Don't get me wrong, but I mean the way that Alex Pelot is locked in so far this season, I simply don't see that happening. The true race right now is for second place, and I mean you think about it. I talked about those 4 drivers, 2 through 5. You also have Scott McLaughlin at 6. Will Power, the defending series champion, at 7th, and Alexander Rossi at 8. Colton Hurd at 9th, and then of course Christian Lundgaard rounds out the top 10. But nonetheless, I think this was a very solid race today. Of course, it didn't end the way that both Colton Herta and Graham Rahal would have liked it. Rahal took 7th, while Herta took 11th, as both of those issues really hurt both of those drivers this afternoon. But again, strong showing by Dixon and Power for them to move up. Christian Lugard finished 4th, and Scott McLaughlin rounded out the top 5 with his 5th place finish. But nonetheless, a very clean race. Credit to the drivers. But then again, everybody was in chase mode trying to catch Alex Palou today. And just like it has been so far this season, all, for the most part, have come up short. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.